my intention with the podcast is that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, because I don't want to do it live. I want the other person to feel comfortable. They can warm up to the process, because I know what it's like when you're live. You're a bit like, what do I say? My intention is to share amazing people like you and other women in business, especially. I know there's amazing men, but especially women who are, I find very inspiring.
Yeah, amazing.
And I love what you're doing and your journey. And like, I've watched your journey as well, and it's been very inspiring. If you'd like to share who you are, what you do, and any intention that you want to share, yeah,
Go for it.
go for it.
I definitely feel like I'd love to set an intention. My intention for our chat today is just a little bit around like letting it not be perfect, like letting it just be how it is. Something that I'm definitely learning through getting a little bit more business coaching and advice and seeing how other people are doing it at the moment is like, it's not like you're going to just show up online or show up in business and you're going to create the most perfect piece of content or like record the perfect like podcast and it's just going to blow up and then it's like high sailing from there. It's actually the sensation of consistency. And I feel like that was part of what really made me want to just show up today when we had planned this podcast together. There was definitely last night I had this moment of like sort of forgetting that it was on. And then I was like, oh, you know, am I really going to do this? And that's where I sort of met that edge of like, I just need to let go of it being perfect. I need to let go of, it looking a certain way and just show up, because it's through that sensation of like consistency that we start to like embody what it means to, be online, to create things for people to enjoy, to and use that creativity to like then flow on into our business and into our offerings and all of that. So I guess, yeah, that is essentially what my intention is for today, is just be here now. A little bit about myself and who I am. My name is Haven. I have been creating online for about the last 14 years, I think. I've lived 1,000 different lives in that time. I couldn't tell you how different my life has looked over those years. Like, if anyone has followed me in that time, you know, they would have just seen just this person going through so many different elements and versions of themselves. And I think for a time there, I really judged and shamed myself for that experience, because there is that schooling mindset around like, you need to aim for a certain thing and you've got to get it right and you need to like find what it is you're here to do and be. And so when you're like exploring these different versions of yourself or these iterations of who you are, you definitely have this like inner voice that's kind of like, oh, I can't stick something out, you know, like I'm not good at, what's the word? It's like, I'm not good at sticking to something, and all this kind of talk. But then through the last 2-3 years, I've been exploring breathwork, and specifically breathwork mastery, which is the extension of rebirthing breathwork mastery. And through my personal practice that then led on to professional training, I've started to really just like fully allow, see, validate, and hear that every part of me and every version that I experience and everything that I've explored has all been perfect. You know, we are such multifaceted beings, and I think that is a core essence of what I really am hoping to bring to my business and to the offerings I want to put out into the world, is this idea of exploring identity, and specifically exploring evolving identities, seeing how our different identities actually hold us and help us in the different seasons of our lives, knowing when certain identities are maybe coming to an expiration date, and rather than either just staying stuck in them or like having this really prolonged grievance like period of letting them go, actually like smoothing out the transition into whatever it is the next identity is going to be, you know, to serve us and to help us in whatever it is that we are going onwards to explore, whether that be parenthood, a different career, a new environment, a new home, a new country, you know, a different modality. It's like there are so many versions of ourselves to be explored. And the more we give ourselves permission to free us up, to just let ourselves explore these things, I think the more fun we're going to have in life and the more joy we're going to have in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. How have you found that ripple through your business and your life coexisting?
I definitely have what I've found is it's really just given me the opportunity to create the support I need. I think by being able to identify like what season of life that I'm in, like a certain way that I'm expressing myself depending on what's happening, meant that I could create the support that I needed at the time. So for example, like, you know, when someone becomes a new mum, sometimes that process isn't just a natural, simple, easy thing for mothers, especially if they're first time. They're grieving the old self. They're grieving the freedom that they had. They're grieving all the things that they were able to do. And the transition into those young early days in the postpartum period and with a newborn can be really hard. Whereas for me, I really consciously in my pregnancy started leaning into, okay, what is it going to mean to be a mother? You know, what am I going to be saying goodbye to? But also, what am I going to get to say hello to? And so it's like this idea around really bringing some like conscious intention to just being real with what's happening in your life, being really present with it, preparing yourself for the next phase. And then so as you move into that phase, there is actually an opportunity to be like, oh, okay, here I am. I'm going to be doing this thing. I've been preparing for this. I can do it. So that's sort of like how that's helped me in, you know, especially my personal life. And then in business, I think I'm still exploring it now since my business is quite new. But I think what it is it's just really given me permission to just like fully allow like whatever it is that I'm going to expand into this business to come forth. If I were to really stay strict on like how I've showed up online before, I feel like that would just put such a container around myself. Whereas like the other night, I just had or it was about 2 weeks ago, I had an experience where I was sort of reflecting on how I was showing up. And I thought to myself, if I were to contact my dream website designer tonight, what mood board would I be sending her on the vision that I wanted for my brand? And what I found was how I was being in life and showing up in my content was nothing like what I would have sent her. So that just gave me like a reality check around like the container I had put on myself with the certain motherhood archetype that I was, you know, embodying. And I realized like what I actually wanted was a lot more edgier. I had a lot more fire. There was like, you know, there was so much more flavor and depth to it. But if I didn't allow myself to really like project into the future on like what my ideal business vision would look like, I feel like the transition and this new period of expanding my business would be going so much slower. And really, I just feel like I'm sort of like collapsing timelines because I'm just like, actually, if I just really got really authentic with myself on what I want, how would I be showing up? Yeah.
And when you reflect, when you come up with like reflection questions, how do you allow it to flow? Like, how, if someone's sitting there and saying, like, wow, like I'm looking at my clothes and I'm just feeling like it's not who I am, how could they step into like that reflection kind of, I guess, like reflection universe of just allowing themselves to be a little bit more creative or be like, who actually am I?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great place to start. I think it brings me to in rebirthing breathwork mastery, there's three parts to a session. You've got your intention setting at the beginning, you've got the breath work, and you've got the debrief in the end. And I would be really leaning into the magic of what intention setting creates. And I think that's what I would be doing if I wanted to reflect on sort of what's happening in my life right now. I would be setting some intentions on how I would prefer things to be, which is, I think, like intention setting gets thrown around these days really quite wish-washy or just out into the space. But I feel like not everyone really knows, like, how do I set a really highly motivating, great intention for myself? So the things that I would be thinking about or asking myself are, what do I want in life that perhaps isn't happening right now? So like, for example, with the clothes experience, it's like, okay, if I'm feeling bored with my clothes, how would I prefer to feel? What are the sensations that I would want to be feeling in my body when I'm looking at my wardrobe or when I'm putting those clothes on? It's like, actually, I want to feel lit up. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel bold. I want to feel, it's like we would start leaning into what those clothes would give us. And then that in itself is the intention, is like what the clothes would give us. So another way that I kind of like to think about it is, if our goals are the outcome, then what those goals are going to give us are the intentions. So for example, with me, I'm coming to the end of my breathwork training. My goal is to become a breath worker, but my intentions are what being a breath worker is going to give me. So like that might be doing work that really lights me up, being able to do work that's flexible for my family and my home, being able to make a positive ripple out in the world. And so those things that I listed, those are the intentions. And so that is what I would be doing if I was like sort of reflecting in life and thinking, like life isn't going the way that I'd like it to be going. So like, let's start getting clear on what my intentions actually are so I can start moving it in the direction I really want it to be going. Yeah.
Like you said before, like with how the word intentional gets thrown around, I think also like a lot of people are like, okay, what is intentional? And
yeah,
they're like, well, how do I do that? I think it like mind boggles people because they're like, I don't even know how to do that. And how you just described it was so beautiful. It was just, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, great.
When you talk about rebirth mastery, can you reflect what that means?
Like sort of like what is like rebirthing breathwork mastery and sort of like so essentially it's kind of what I was talking about with the intention settings. Breathwork mastery is a practice on making life go the way that you want it to go. It's that sensation of moving from life is happening to me to I am the creator of my life. There's a lot there around really taking back, your authority as a creative being in this lifetime and sort of really just seeing how old patterns, old stories, ways we've learned to survive from anywhere from conception up until now, any imprints or experiences that we've had in our life that have, altered us to sort of behave in a certain way to keep us safe, which has been up until this point very valid, very true, and really real for us. But sort of witnessing how those things don't have to be true for us now. And something that I really love about Breathwork Mastery is that we don't actually have to go back into our past. I think that's something that stumps a lot of people when they're embarking on some sort of transformational journey or healing journey. It's this overwhelm of like, oh, I'm going to have to deal with everything that I've ever experienced up until this point in order to get myself forward. Whereas Breathwork Mastery is about setting your intentions around how you'd prefer things to be and trusting that your body and your breath are only going to allow whatever is in the way of that specific intention to arise at any one time. And the other thing that I really love about it is that the facilitation is completely agenda free. So me as a practitioner, I'm not expecting you to have any type of experience. I am just witnessing, holding, and reflecting back to you whatever experience your body and breath is going to take you, like how deep it's going to go, what it's going to look like. And also, there's also an emphasis around not one session being better than the other. I think that's kind of, breath work sometimes is getting a bit of a bad rap online, especially when we're seeing a lot of super cathartic releases. We're seeing a lot of really personal experiences that I would say probably shouldn't be being recorded. And so people get quite scared when they're thinking about breath work because they're like, wow, that looks intense. That is, I feel, can be coming from a facilitation where there is an agenda from the practitioner on how your healing experience or your integration experience should look, whereas Breathwork Mastery, the focus is on that it is a self-generated experience by you, and any experience that you have is perfect and whole in itself. And that is where that's probably what has made the biggest transformation for me in my life, is actually just creating safety in my body with myself. There's no one telling me how to create safety. There's no timeline on how that, like when that comes through. And I remember having a session maybe about a month ago. When I laid down for the session, I just actually had this beautiful, subtle session, super subtle, where I was just really, tears came to my eyes because I felt for the first time in probably my 29 years of living, this deep sensation of, wow, I've created so much safety in my body. And that's just happened over time, step by integrated step. No one's forced me there. I've just created that by slowly rewiring what it means to be with myself, what it means to connect with myself, what it means to set goals and dreams and have these beautiful things out in life, and really bring it back to myself and bring it back to my own timing. Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. How have you supported yourself through shifting into new identities and grieving old ones along your journey?
I would say really just making time for self-reflection. I think in this day and age, it's so easy to fill the time that we do have with ourselves, with our screens, with distractions, with everything else other than being with our mind. That's something that I have felt really grateful for, to have had like quite a natural connection with. I was the type of person who would just happily lay on the bed and be in my brain for like an hour, not necessarily meditating, not necessarily doing anything, but just laying there, looking out the curtain, looking out the window and just sort of being like, what is going on for me? Like, what am I dreaming about? What am I thinking about? And that really did help me as I started sort of transitioning into my later years in life, when I did start, taking on some practices and different, meditation and then breath work. Then I could start cultivating this thing that I had that was quite natural for me into something a little bit more conducive and productive. Although in saying that, it's like, does everything have to be productive? I don't know. These are the things that I wrestle with myself. But I think definitely as I've gone along the way and I started getting into breath work, then I had a space. Then I had a practice that I could show up to as my whole self and could really see, like, what is happening for me right now. How can I smooth my transition into the next phase? That's, again, what I was sort of talking about earlier, is it's not even just about, setting intentions on how you prefer things to be, but also what's the journey going to look like on the way there? This is where I think sometimes we sort of limit ourselves on what is possible. What is truly possible if we lean into every single aspect of our life, and how much can we actually have influence over, and I think when we set these conscious intentions, highly motivating intentions that deeply mean something to us, and we start setting some intentions around what the journey is going to look like into getting there, I think we open ourselves up to just more and more feeling free to choose in life, more possibility. And I think a bit of the magic as well is like letting go of the how. I think that's definitely been something around, just the identity shifts and, the whole journey aspect experiences, letting go of how to get there. Just set the intention and watch life unfold in front of you, and then keep setting intentions. Like as you go along and you see that you're making steps forward and things are starting to happen and you're like, oh, okay, now I have something to work with,
I think also, like, when we make a goal or set an intention, our brain automatically goes, okay, so how?
Yeah.
How subconsciously we actually automatically just go to that, all right, how are we going to get there? How are we? And it really puts so much pressure on ourselves and the unfolding. And I always say life is always unfolding, and it is an evolution, a forever evolution. It's never going to be perfect. I hate that word in general, but like it's never going to sometimes go fully the way we want it to, but that's the beauty of it. And being able to sort of let go of that controlling of like, this is how it has to be, this is how it has to unfold and look like. It's letting that go. And that can be quite a journey in itself.
Absolutely. I think that is probably one of the other key things that Breathwork Mastery has given me, is my relationship to what I'm experiencing and what is arising. What's interesting is a part of breathwork is that we set in our intentions, and then whatever arises in, whether it's our breathwork session or in life, is on some level the material, either looking to be anchored in or released in order for us to get to our intentions. So it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like you set some intentions and then the inner dialogue starts about how is that going to happen? Do I have the money to make that happen? X, Y, Z. But I think where we can sort of, I guess, take our power back is, can we relate to this inner dialogue that's happening as the material? And by material, what I mean is like the old stories, the old patterns, the old ways of being in life, as just those things coming up to keep us safe, because up until this point, they've kept us safe and kept us in, whatever circumstance that our body thinks is safe. Can we just relate to that as, our body trying to keep us safe, rather than, oh, this is how I think and I can't do it because my brain is saying that I can't, And it kind of allows us to be able to shift from just being sort of in our head or in our body to having a bit more of this like third person perspective. That's definitely been something that has been really key for me in the last stages of my training. Is I've been setting these intentions. All the old stories are coming up on the limiting beliefs, the doubt, and the, can I really be, looking to achieving this? But then there's the practitioner me that's now being able to step back and say, oh, wow, that's an interesting process that I'm going through. Oh, I can see how that is how I used to be in life. And oh, I can see how this is just my old self coming up to protect myself. But I don't need to be like that anymore. I don't need that to be true for me now because I have created more safety in my body. And I know that I do have the ability to keep moving forward. And these intentions are actually things that I can have. And so, yeah, that's like part of where the rewiring comes from, is like changing our relationship to that inner voice. Yeah.
I think it's also like how you feel in yourself it's a ripple. If you feel crap, your environment feels crap. Like it's very intentional for like how you show up is how you create the ecosystem, I guess, within yourself and your outer ecosystem, and how you show up and how you deal with things and hold that space is it's very intentional, and where you want to go, the environment you want to create, and seeing it in a different perspective is very important. Like creating a garden. I always say this, like how your inner garden is feeling, like are you nurturing it? Are you nourishing it? Are you watering it? Are you showing up for it? Or are you feeling like it's full of weeds and overgrown and you just don't give that love and care towards it? It's like your heart and your soul, and then your environment and your ecosystem. You got to create your own ecosystem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I love that analogy. And it's funny because it's like when maybe our inner garden is full of weeds and, it is overgrown and it's desperately needing some love. And then we can, we're standing on the outside being like, why is nothing happening for me? Why is nothing working? But it's like, have we actually, like you said, shown up? Have we actually done, gone into the garden, tended to the things that maybe are a little bit prickly, and like you said, it's like that mindset shift. That's kind of where I am with, content creation now as I'm looking to expand my business. Before I had this inner dialogue of like, I hate that this is part of business, or, I've got to make this real or else I'm not going to the algorithm's not going to work for me. And it was a lot of this like shaming or judgment or, just like, this sort of story, instead of like what I'm trying to shift to now is I get to create content. I get to do this. I get to show up online, and look how much opportunity I have available to me through this modality. And yeah, it's just like changing that mindset of I have to do this to I get to do this.
I love that. Yeah. And it's definitely a key component of like getting to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like the mindset and like being able to hold that space for what you've held on in your body. I always say it's like a memory board or a hard drive. It holds things that sometimes you don't even realize it's still holding. And being able to shift that and show up for how you're feeling, and then where do you want to go? Because how I look at it is, if you can get to where you want to go, but if you're still holding on to this, you're going to still be holding on to it when you get to where you want to go. And being able to hold that space for it now is going to, yeah, it might be hard and uncomfortable, but it's going to be better for you to show up for it now so you can evolve and hold space for it along the journey instead of holding on to it like a chokehold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's just like that simple thing of being like, us holding on to it is all we've ever known up until this point. So it makes sense why it's hard to let it go, because it's like this is me. These problems that I have, these limiting beliefs that I have, this is all I've known up until this point. So like, how can I let this thing go? How can I move past that? But then, yeah, that's where that little point of shifting from, but does this have to be true for me now? You know, what could be possible for me if I let this go? And that is a scary thing. And I think no matter how much work you do, how much breath work you do, you know, you're always going to face that at the different levels. So it's just like really being honest with yourself and, yeah, like where possible, letting go of the judgment or the shame or whatever it is that, you know, you do feel connected to those stories or those patterns on some level because they've helped you survive up until now. And yeah, like I think through validation, witnessing, and yeah, just really seeing yourself is often the quickest way to sort of integrating it and moving onwards rather than like, you know, shooting ourselves or judging ourselves or shaming ourselves for that being how we've operated, you know, up until this point.
Absolutely. And what inspired you to create your business and go on the journey that you have gone on?
I would say my deepest inspiration, besides my beautiful family, they have always the deepest inspiration, but just my personal experience of really not wanting to be here in this lifetime and moving from that to getting to a point where I actually am almost on the other side of the pendulum of like, there's not going to be enough years, you know? That's been transformational for me to just sort of witness that experience. And I've done a lot of things. I've tried a lot of modalities. I've done, you know, I've had a full emergency psychologist and psychiatric team for how severely I suffered with my mental health in my early days. And so for me, it's really been at the beginning, it was survival, you know, just actually trying to create a healthy inner garden that I actually wanted to stay. And then from that point, once I got there, it's then moved from just surviving to the thriving, you know, and getting to the point where it's like, oh, actually, I don't ever want to let this go. And that experience to have witnessed and experienced such a huge spectrum of emotion and relation to life and to being alive and being here is probably my deepest motivation for bringing this work to the community. Is I want this for everyone, you know. I don't want us to be in this place of surviving. I want every person to, at some point in their lifetime, really feel like they love their life, they love themselves, they love contributing and being here, and you know, in whatever shape that looks like for them, that they feel whole and seen and perfect in their own being. And yeah, that's my like my heartfelt intention for the ripple that I hope to, you know, give the community and the world, is just that sense of belonging. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like that just warms my heart because I also can relate to the whole not wanting to be here and then like as changing your perspective on how you want to create life and being intentional with like seeing those lessons and challenges along the way and becoming the person that you want to be and setting the intention of where you want to go, but also holding that space to feel seen, acknowledged, and heard for where you're at right now, but also where you want to go. And that's beautiful. And I've watched your journey a lot. I remember when you had your dreadlocks, and yeah, watching your journey from when I started following you to where you are. I've even seen the ripple, and I've felt the ripple, and I find you so inspiring, and the vision that you have for life and what you want to do for people or even just share with people is incredible and so beautiful. And the space you hold is so warm, and it's like a warm hug. You just feel so safe being in your presence, and yeah, it's just so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna start crying, and then you'll be crying, and then we'll all be crying. But that it is, I do on some level feel speechless, because that is my intention essentially for getting past my limiting beliefs, just to get online and create connections and create community, is feeling like I'm a place that people feel like they can. It's like when the analogy I think in my head is like, I've had a lot of people say that I just feel like home, and it feels a bit weird me saying that myself.
I know
But
what you
that
mean.
it's like you said, a warm hug or a cup of a hot drink, or that sensation of coming home is just like, yeah, that feeling of like all of you is welcome. That's just that what I hope that I can express through my page, through my offerings, through my businesses. There's no judgment here. All of you is welcome, and I see you.
Before we wrap it up, where can people to connect with you or learn about what you offer and be in your space?
Yeah, great. So I have a few places, and I'm definitely expanding as we go, as I'm learning things and stepping out of my comfort zone. But you can basically find me on Instagram and on TikTok at I am Haven Hall. That is my personal page and where I've shown up the most, especially on Instagram. TikTok's very new. It's a whole new stratosphere over there. So I'm definitely feeling my age as I'm trying to like navigate the platform. And also on Instagram, I have a page specifically for the business called The Body Breath Process. It's very new. And that is also, so that is my business name, and also the name of the website you can go to find out anything that's happening for me is thebodybreathprocess.com.au. And I also have a Substack. So on Substack, you could search me up by searching up Haven Hall, or also searching up my Substack. My publication there is called The Body Breath Journal. Yeah. Hopefully I will be having the Body Breath podcast coming up soon, which I'm very excited about. But those are just the places that you can find me. I do have a Facebook page as well, the Body Breath Process too. So yeah, those are all the places you can find me. And in terms of offerings, the next thing that I have coming up is a beautiful in-person retreat that I'm very excited about. I am co-facilitating this retreat with my epic, amazing two mentors, Anthea Belguera and Natasha Glass. I have worked with these two intensively, but also sort of casually over the last 1 to 2 years, and they have been so supportive of my process as I journey through my practitioner training. So part of the qualification to sort of wrap up my certification in that training is to put on co-facilitated events. We hosted an online retreat about 3 weeks ago that was super successful and just so powerful. The things that people moved through in that experience was just such so epic to witness. And so now I'm really excited to be bringing that experience to the in-person. We're going to be hosting it at the Quinns Community Centre in Quinns Rocks, which is very close to home. Beautiful space on the second story of the community centre overlooking the ocean. There's the grass down below. It's literally like you can get your feet in the sand from the space, like with less than 50 meters. Like it's right there on the ocean. And it's going to be a 2-day event on the 18th and 19th of April. And there is an opportunity to join us for the full weekend or just a single day, if that works for you. And over the weekend, we'll be doing 2 breathwork sessions a day. My amazing husband, which you can find at the Nathan Hall, he has been a plant-based cook for the last 10 years. And so he's going to be doing the lunch for us over both days. So you definitely want to get there if you've ever followed my page or seen the amazing food that he cooks. I'm very excited about that part of the experience. I definitely receive a lot of love through my belly, and being a witness of his cooking over our relationship together has been just so amazing. And so I'm very excited to be running this retreat and hopefully wrapping up the end of my practitioner training and then moving on to above and beyond after that. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I'm so excited for you and the journey beyond, but just being able to witness that as well. And if people can't make that, there'll be many more to come.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually had trouble sleeping at night because I've been having so many downloads on what's to come. I think I've been writing an entire course in my head and just getting the scrappy notes into my notes app on my phone, but there's just some really epic material coming through, so I'm really excited to see what blooms on the other side of my graduation.
I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to watch much more unfold. I honestly feel so blessed to have you on my podcast and be able to share your magic with other people, especially people in Perth who can come to your retreats and all that. But obviously you have your online as well, which is amazing. But yeah, I feel so blessed, and thank you for coming on and sharing your magic and you, because you're such an amazing person and such an inspiration. And yeah, I can't wait to watch your journey even more.
Thank you so much for having me, and I feel super blessed to have found you through the online space, and I'm so keen to see the collaborations that we continue to have, like above and beyond. And hopefully I'll have you on my podcast once I get my stuff together, and we can flip the script and go the opposite way around.
I would love that. And because even like when we had our call, I think it was a few months ago, and it was just so easy. It was just so like flowy, chill, and just like warm. It just was easy. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just, we just talked and talked and talked, and it was just so beautiful. And yeah, I'm just so blessed, and I feel so honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taylor. I've loved being here and chatting with you and your community as well.